How to send an offer letter or a purchase contract on a real estate investment property. So a purchase contract, also known as REPSI, real estate purchase contract, is your offer to purchase the property. So you're saying, hey, here's the purchase contract, or I'm making an offer on the property. When I'm making an offer on the property, I am giving you a purchase contract. That purchase contract spells out the terms and the price and the conditions by which I'm interested in purchasing that property. So the question is, how do you go about doing that? Well, it depends on if the property is listed or if the property is not listed with a real estate agent. If the property is listed with a real estate agent, then they're going to be using a state approved or realtor board approved form, and that's going to be required. So if the property is listed, my recommendation is you use a buyer's agent that will then put the contract together and present that to the seller's agent, who will then present that to the seller. Or you can go directly to the seller's agent and say, I'm not going to be bringing in a buyer's agent, so I'd like you to reduce the commissions to what you would have gotten if I brought a buyer's agent in. Typically, commissions 5 or 6%. Let's just call it 6%. 3% would go to the seller's agent and 3% would go to the buyer's agent. So I can go to the selling agent and say, hey, I don't want to bring in a buyer's agent, but I want you to reduce the commission so you're making half, because it's usually a 50-50 split of whatever the seller is paying for the percentage, and then that helps you get a little bit better deal. If that's the case, then I also ask that seller's agent to put together the contract, but I have to give them the terms of the contract: the purchase price, the closing deadline, the settlement, the earnest money, the inspections, the due diligence deadline, the financing contingencies, and the appraisal deadline. So let's back up and talk about each one of those. When we talk about earnest money, that's the amount of money that we put in, that we're sealing the deal with, that's at jeopardy if we don't produce and move through like we say. The next thing that we're talking about is the settlement deadline. The settlement deadline is when we're going to close this property by. Then we've got the price. The price is how much I'm willing to pay and how I'm going to pay for that. So I'm going to put that I'm getting private financing, and I'm going to put that I'm going to be getting an appraisal or an evaluation, and I have a deadline to do that within. I'm going to be putting that I need to do an inspection of the property and an evaluation of the property and a deadline that I'm going to do that. I also am putting that I'm going to be getting financing, and I have a deadline that I'm getting fully approved in that. So I typically like to say, I like to write my offers for 4 weeks. I would say 3 weeks minimum, or 15 business days. But I typically say, hey, I need a couple of weeks to get my inspections done. I need 3 weeks to get my appraisal done and to get my financing done, and we'll close in the 4th week is typically what I would write that for. But that's also something that is negotiable. So when you make your offer to the seller, then the seller can counteroffer back and say, no, I want to change this. And then you can counteroffer back to them if necessary in negotiating to make a deal happen. We do have, if the property is off market, we do have a form that you can use that is for off market properties. And you can download that from our back office as well. You can download that, fill out the forms, and then save it. And that's something you can then send to the seller. I typically use a signing platform like an Adobe Sign or a Panda Docs or something like that to actually send it out, because it makes the signing of documents easier. But you can also just print it and take it to the seller and have them sign it, and you can sign it, and off you go. So that's how to send an offer letter. You're going to send it through a real estate agent, either your buyer's agent or the seller's agent, or you'll be downloading that, filling it out, and giving it to the seller either in person or through a digital signing platform.